Hello, my name is Casey, and today I'll be walking you through my featured digital library. I've chosen to spotlight the Busy Beaver Online Button Museum. This is a digital library of pinback buttons owned by the Busy Beaver Button Museum, which is located in Chicago. The digital library is managed by those at the museum, which is a 501c3 organization. This digital library features photographs of pinback buttons from every decade going back to the 1890s. This digital library is simple and user-friendly while still being interesting, informative, and just plain cool. The homepage of the digital library shows all the categories you can browse by. If you scroll down, they include some that were recently added to the digital library. The navigation bar includes links to 6 destinations: Explore, Learn, Blog, Support, About Us, and Donate. Let's begin with Explore. The two main ways to browse through buttons in this digital library is by categories or decades. The category page lists 20 categories, each accompanied by a picture of a button. The decades page lists 14 categories spanning from 1890s to 2020s. The decades are also accompanied by a picture of a button. When you click into a category or decade, it starts populating all buttons associated with that category or decade. To load more, you can click the View More button. The focus of this digital library is the actual buttons, so I think it's really cool that these pages only show the images of the buttons and nothing else. The digital library also includes a fan museum section under Explore, which includes photographs of buttons sent in by users. These buttons are not held by the Busy Beaver Button Museum, but the section provides another way to gather photos of and information about buttons from the community. Now let's take a look at an item page. The main feature on the item page is the photograph of the button. Clicking the image brings up a larger view. They also include a photo of the button backs. The other main section of the item page is the metadata. Since the metadata fields required for describing buttons are very particular, it doesn't appear that they use a pre-established metadata schema, such as Dublin Core or MOTS. All objects have several required pieces of metadata. These are title, category, text on button, image description, back style, shape, size, and catalog ID. Other metadata fields included if available are subcategories, back paper/back info, year/decade made, manufacturer, additional information, and sources. As previously mentioned, the main browsing methods for this digital library are categories and decades. But as you get into object pages, you can see that you're also able to browse by subcategories, back style, shape, size, and manufacturer. If you click the size, for example, it will take you to all buttons of that particular size. The digital library also offers several resources for learning more about pinbacks and their history in the Learn section. There's a page about the history of pinback buttons, some resources for learning more, and a list of major button manufacturers. This button manufacturer page is another way you can browse by manufacturer. This browsing page is a little more detailed than the other browse pages as it provides manufacturer names and brief descriptions. This digital library also has a blog, pages for learning more about supporting the museum, and an About section. Their blog is full of posts about buttons in their collection, particular aspects of button history, or important individuals in the history of pinback buttons. The Donate Buttons page has a section about the museum's collecting policy. This is useful for learning more about how the museum acquires buttons for their collection. The museum currently holds over 30,000 buttons. It's not clear how they select buttons for inclusion into the digital library. On the About page, you can learn more about the museum, their affiliations, and all those who have worked on the digital library. This digital library is useful for experts and non-experts alike. Those who want to learn more about a particular aspect of button history or about a specific button can use this digital library. It can also be used by those who just want to peruse cool buttons. That wraps up my tour of the Busy Beaver Button Museum Digital Library. You can visit for yourself by going to buttonmuseum.org.